What's up guys, Perry from Rockville here, and today we're going to go over how to set up a DMX controller to your Pixel Hybrid Bar. So the cool thing about this light is that it has a wireless DMX feature, so we can set it up to a wireless DMX controller. So to explain how that works, we're going to actually look at the top of our light, and we're going to look for this button that says Wireless DMX Group. There's also this control on our wireless DMX controller, so we have to set them to the same wireless DMX group in order for them to communicate together. The wireless DMX groups are color-coded, so it makes it very easy to pair our light with our DMX controller. So for example, I can press the wireless DMX group button here to cycle between the different groups. So they're color coded like I mentioned, so we can cycle between the group of red, green, yellow, blue, purple, cyan, or white. So to link the light to my DMX controller, I'm going to turn on my DMX controller, and I'm also going to turn on the wireless DMX feature on the controller. Now from here, I can choose which wireless DMX group I want to use for my light and my controller. So again, I can press the wireless DMX group button here on my light. And for today, I'm gonna choose to set our lights and controller to blue. So I can do that on my light first, and then I can go to my DMX controller and look for the wireless DMX group button and press it until it's set to the blue group. Okay, so after I've set them both to blue, you'll see that they're starting to communicate, and you can tell because the light is flashing green and the controller is flashing red. After we've set them to the same wireless DMX group, we're gonna want to go to our light and set up a DMX channel and a DMX address. So first we can set up the DMX address by pressing the menu button until we get to the A001 display. And then I'm actually gonna use A001 as my DMX address. So I'm gonna press enter to make sure that's saved. Then I'm gonna press menu to get to the DMX channel mode. This allows us to set how much control we have over our light when we're using our controller. And we have 3 different options to choose from. So we have a 5-channel mode, a 14-channel mode, and a 75-channel mode. So if we want the most basic control, we can use the 5-channel mode. If we want a medium or intermediate control, we can use the 14-channel mode. And then we can use the 75-channel mode for a more advanced setup. If you take a look at the included DMX guide, you can see how much control you have over your light with each DMX channel mode. For today, we're gonna set it to the 14-channel mode by using the up and down buttons until it says 14 channel, and then we're gonna press enter again. So after we have that all set up, we can go back to our DMX controller here, and we're gonna want to activate scanner 1. And now we're all set to use our controller with our light. So again, we can refer to our DMX guide to see what each fader does for our light. So fader 1 acts as our master dimmer, so I'm going to raise that all the way up so that once we set up the other faders, we can see some light coming through. Fader 2 acts as our warm white dimmer, so the more we raise that, the more of that light you see. Then fader 3 activates the strobe for the white dimmer, so the more I raise that, the more you see the warm white start to strobe. Now when we set each fader to a different position, this also sets the value for each fader. So this is good to know for the next fader here, which is fader 4, and each value on this fader activates a different mode. So for example, if I set fader 4 between the values of 20 to 24, this activates the zigzag mode that you see right here. Again, you can see which value activates which mode by looking at the DMX guide. Next, we have fader 5 to control the speed for each of these modes. So again, I'm on the zigzag mode right now, and if I raise fader 5 all the way up, you'll see that it goes to max speed in this mode, and then I can lower it to the middle, and now it's a bit slower. Next, we have fader 6, which is the white light dimmer. So again, we're gonna wanna make sure that fader 1 is raised all the way up, and then we can raise fader 6, and then you'll see the white light start to come. Next, we have fader 7 to control the strobe for the white light. So if I raise it up, then you'll see that light start to strobe. And just like we had for the warm white dimmer, we have fader 8 to set our white light to different modes. And just like before, depending on where we set this fader, it will activate a different mode. So for example, if I set this anywhere from 40 to 44, this activates the bounce effect for the white light dimmer. What's also really cool is that you can use the warm light and the white light together while they're set to different modes. So for example, we have the white light going through its own mode now. Then at the same time, I can set up the warm light here and set it to its own mode. And now as you can see, I have both going at the same time. Jumping on the next page of my DMX controller to fader 9, this affects the speed of the white light effect. So the more I raise fader 9, the faster the effect for the white light will go. Now moving on to fader 10, this acts as the RGB dimmer, so if we wanted to use any colored lights, we can raise this fader up. Fader 11 acts as the strobe for the RGB dimmer, but first we can go to fader 12 to set a color. And the colors are determined by the value you set this fader to. So for example, I'm going to set this to the green color using values 45 to 79. So I'm gonna raise it up. Now we have the green color. And then going back to fader 11 to set the strobe. And the higher we raise it, the faster the strobe will go. So this is about medium strobe. And then we raise it up more for a faster strobe. We have fader 13 to activate colored effects, and again, it's determined by the value we set this fader to. So for example, I'm going to set this to anywhere from 50 to 54. This activates a color chase, and then we can use fader 14 to adjust the speed. So the higher we set this, the faster this effect will go. So that's what all the faders do for the 14 channel mode. And again, it's gonna be different if you set it to 5 channel or 75 channel, but you can refer to the DMX guide for what each fader will do in those different DMX channel modes. So for this demo, we just set up one of our lights to our DMX controller, but keep in mind if you wanted to add more lights in your wireless chain, all you're gonna do is activate your second, third, or however many lights that you want. Set them all to the same wireless DMX group as your first light and your controller, and then you'll be good to go. You also have the option to set up your DMX controller to your light with DMX cables in case your wireless setup doesn't work. So to do that, I have my DMX cable here. I'm going to take the male end and plug it into the DMX out on my controller. Then I'm gonna plug the other end into the DMX in on my light here. In this setup, I still wanna make sure to set up a DMX address to communicate with my mixer and a DMX channel so I know how much control I have with my controller. So I just turned off the wireless DMX feature on my controller to test out our wired connection here. So if I raise fader 2, for example, with fader 1, you'll start to see the light coming through. And to set up more lights in your chain, all you're gonna do is take another DMX cable and plug it into the DMX out of your first light, then plug it into the DMX in on the second light, and repeat this process all the way down for however many lights that you wanna set up. And remember to set each light to the same DMX address and the same DMX channel. So hopefully this showed you guys how easy it is to set up your DMX controller to your Pixel Hybrid Bar. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support team through phone or email. As always, I'm Perry from Rockville, and we'll see you guys next time.